Welcome to Love and Money TV, and I'm so happy and excited to be able to share with you my dear friend and gem, Noeline Levinson from New Zealand, and she is a brain profiler. And there's only one brain profiler in New Zealand and one in Canada, and I could only find two in the United States. So, my friends and gems, I want to introduce you to Noeline. Noeline, thank you for joining us here from New Zealand. I know you're extremely busy, but you have a passion for helping people. So let's get started. And how are you doing?
Yay, I'm well. Thank you. Excellent. All the better for wearing my patches.
Yes, absolutely. We share that in common. So that people can start to get an understanding and start to relate to who you are, what you do, and where you do it. Why don't you take us down a little path and take us back to when you were a child? Did you grow up in a very large family, a very small family? Where did you fit in the pecking order? Were you the firstborn, lastborn, middle child, only child?
Okay. Well, actually, I was one of three. I was the baby. And I obviously, from my accent, you'll hear that I originate from South Africa. And I grew up in a family of academics. My mother was a psychologist, my father was a psychiatrist. And I and my sisters were both studious beyond belief. And then there was me. And I was really different to everybody else. And my mother kept asking me why I wasn't like them and bringing it up. Every time they spoke about me, they said, well, she doesn't like to read, and we don't know what's wrong with her. And later on in my life, when I was at school, I have a memory of my headmaster standing at my desk talking to my teacher, saying to the teacher, she has dyslexia, but she'll get through. And I'm listening to this conversation thinking, oh, so I have dyslexia. I wonder what that is. And and I finished school and I don't do as well as the rest of my friends. And that was a sad moment for me because we were separated at that point. They all went off to university and I didn't get into the course that I wanted to do. And I went off on my own tangent at that point. And landed up doing wonderful things. I'm not sad about the way it worked out, but I landed up going off to Paris and studying with Professor Tomatis to study sound therapy. And my mother had invited me to join her in Paris because she was studying with Tomatis, and I did the program with him. And that program did enable me to read. I then was able to go and study psychology and English, but I didn't really understand how it had done that. I understood that I was reading better. And those psychology books, they're not small, huh? And no, exactly. And so I knew that it had worked. I didn't really understand how it had worked. And honestly, I can only tell you that by the grace of God, I landed up at a woman who does brain profiling. She's an amazing woman in South Africa, and she did my profile. And I remember sitting there with her, and it was a life-changing experience for me because I began to understand that I wasn't stupid. I was different to everybody in my family, but it didn't make me less than. It just meant that I was different. And I learned in a different way. And I thought to myself, gosh, had I only gone to a school that had recognized my abilities to learn and taught me the way I was designed to learn, gosh, I would have had a different experience of school. I hated school, every minute of it. And I wanted so badly to enjoy myself. I enjoyed the social aspect a little bit, but really I loathed those years. And I would have really done well had somebody put me in a Steiner education system, because that really would have worked for my brain profile. And I really was able to hold my head up after that experience. I really was able to stand up for myself and go, well, okay, I'm different, but that's okay. I began to have compassion for myself and then began to start to understand others. And because I was working with children who had learning challenges from ADD, ADHD to autism and everything in between, children with low self-esteem, I could profile them and I could explain to the parent how the problems that they were seeing were happening. And for me, it was heaven. Sorry, I did not answer your question only. Sorry, smaller family, just the youngest child in an academic family. God.
No, Aline, I'm sorry. My internet connection today has not been good. It keeps on disconnecting on me, so I apologize for that. So you said that I lost you when you said you hated school those years growing up because there was such a disconnect where they were, you've heard the term probably nose blind, but they were child learning blind to you. They did not know how to fulfill your needs, and you were as valuable as any other child there, but even as brilliant as your parents were, because they were highly educated, obviously very intelligent, but they were kind of blind to what you needed and being able to acknowledge and do something about supplementing your learning style, your neuro style, of learning.
Totally. And Lillian, I think that it's not about blaming, because I mean,
No.
I see parents every single day. They're doing their best. They really are.
Everybody, yeah, every parent, I think, all parents love their children. So it's not again, like you're saying, it's not a blame thing because we all have
Yeah.
blind spots too. And so and then we knew so much less. We know so much more now.
Yeah.
So the fact that, and I love the fact that you're bringing an awareness to this to people so that they know that this possibility exists. I got to tell you, like we desperately need you here in the United States, without a shadow of a doubt. When I did research on brain profiling, I have friends that do brain mapping, which is different, right? And so when I looked for brain profilers in the United States, I could only find two. The majority of anything related to brain profiling has to do with criminal profiling. Nothing about brain profiling other than one, potentially two people that will do brain profiling for like yourself, for me, for children, for married couples, there's all sorts of different people who are not criminals,
Yeah.
So this is totally different. And so that's why I thought it was so extraordinarily important. And I know that you and I will be doing a lot more of these because this is so needed,
Yeah.
in the world. And we need people to have this in their awareness and go, Noeline, I need to train with you. And they need to get certified by you and learn how to become brain profilers, because there's certain people that are thinking, gosh, I want to do something different in this health and wellness space and this medical space. And when they hear this, those who know are going to have such a high resonance with what it is that you're doing. It's like, you know what? This is where I'm going to do I'm going to go to the Noeline University of Brain Profiling. And so with that being said, I'm going to, I want you to continue on because again, this is resonating at such a high level with me. I just want you to know that and I don't want to become a brain profiler, but I do want to help you promote in your area of expertise because it's desperately needed right now. Go ahead.
It is really. And I think that for me, what I'm looking for is the ability to be able to train people so that we can put profilers everywhere.
Yes.
So that every school profiles a child before they go into school, so that
Yes.
we've got that information before we start at the beginning of the year. And that teachers know exactly how to teach that child. So they don't spend the whole year getting to know them, only for the next year for a new teacher now to start to get to know them. It's crazy. We want to start the year knowing how you learn, how you listen, how you speak, what happens to you when you're stressed. That is the most important thing, because there are children who are panicking and a teacher is talking and they know they're losing information. So they turn to their friend and go, what did she say? Now, you know this only too well. And then they get into trouble for talking, but they're trying so desperately to get it right. So we really have to begin to understand children. We have to really understand them, understand how they learn, understand, and not just sort of gloss over it. Oh, well, they'll be the creative children. That's not enough. We need to know the detail of how they understand, how they're listening or not listening, or what makes them not listen, what makes them frightened. And when they're frightened, what happens to them? Because we've got some children who sail through the system because their profile allows them to,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
others who don't. And what I don't like is then those children who struggle are separated and put into another class or another school. So many children have told me this. You know, they were put in the dumb class. No, there's no
Special
such
ed.
thing. Yeah, exactly. I hate those labels. They're so damaging. And Lillian, the other thing that I really wanted to bring up is that every one of us remember what happened at school. I mean,
Oh
we're
yeah,
in our 30s, by God, we remember it.
we do.
Those years have stayed with us all our lives.
Especially, the imprint of the first 8 years. That's where, a lot of the issues that adults have as they grow older, it's because of some sort of trauma that happened before the age of 8. Sometimes there's multiple traumas. It's not uncommon, as you're very well aware.
Totally. Absolutely. And so look, we have multiple issues going on at the moment. And I mean, there are no quick fixes. It's true. But we need a starting point. We need a place to jump off from. And getting to know how you wire your brain, well, that's a good starting point. And it's true, it's not the whole story. We've got layering, we've got our life experience that like comes upon your profile. Yes, it's true. And we've got a whole lot of other stuff. The fact that we need clean air and clean water to drink and nutritious food and all of these things, because they also get in the way of our learning. And I mean, there are lots of different things. So really, my passion is education. And it's not just educating
Yes.
profilers, but it's education across the board.
Yes, and educating the parents, the teachers, the school systems. So how many brain profile types, like with personality types, there's like the DISC system that there's 4 personality types. Not quite sure how many there is with the Myers-Briggs, but with the brain profiling, is there a certain number of types?
Yeah, don't quote me on this, but I think there are 36 combinations.
Okay.
And just one thing, you and I could have the identical profile, and one thing is different. We're two different. We're two different people.
Yeah.
Um, and we have higher functioning people and people who don't function at all, people who get totally deer in the headlights when they're under stress. And there are others that cope so well under stress that they are the ones that kind of drop dead of a heart attack and go, oh, I have a body. What do you know? Who knew? They have to really hit the wall before they realize they're over their threshold. So we are all very different, and I think when we get to understand that about each other, we can be more compassionate. We're told to be more compassionate, but this is one way to become more compassionate. And I think that we all think that everybody thinks like I do, and if they don't, there must be something wrong with them. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the issues that we face.
I agree with you. It is one of the issues that we have to face because not everybody is going to think like you do or like I do. And having the recognition that not everybody does and being okay with it, not having the attachment or the requirement that they have to think like I do, just being aware they're different. They have a different thought process, a different set of values and priorities, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to call attention because when you did my brain profile, it was so really extraordinary. And there was the distinction that you made during the unfolding of that brain profiling where you said, well, this is your genetic makeup, but you're functional. You had a distinction between 2 states of being. So one thing is your genetic blueprint. This is how you were wired. However, behaviorally and functionally, this is how you present despite this. So could you address that issue?
Yeah. So they're not to be confused. Functional dominance can change. So functional dominance is the hand you write with, the foot you kick with. And we all know that they used to force left-handed children to write with the right hand. So, which is awful. But we all know this bit of information. And so we know that functional dominance can be changed. We all know that if you injure an eye, the other eye automatically works. We are able to shift our functionality. Genetic brain dominance does not shift. You're born with it, you die with it. It doesn't change throughout your life. The key is, though, you're not supposed to be a slave to your profile. You're supposed to actually land up using your whole brain. We want you to be whole brain thinking. We don't want you just to be in your profile. So you want to overcome it. But having the understanding that under stress, you will revert to it. So that's the key, really. The key is once you understand what happens to you under stress, you begin to start working out, how can I work around this? Yeah. And I think that's really, really important to know. But there is that distinction between genetic blueprinting and functionality. They can be the same, but they're not always the same.
So genetic brain dominance versus functional brain dominance. So I love this because I just got a visual picture as you were talking right now. It's like once we are aware of the difference between our genetic brain dominance and then our functional brain dominance, it's almost like you've been in this darker room. It's not pitch black. It's just kind of a low light room. And then as soon as you open that door that's across the way, you open the door and then it lets all this light in, and you're like, you can walk into that next room where things are more clear.
Yeah.
You feel more whole and complete. You feel more at ease. There's like the darkness kind of lifts. I had a literal sensation of integration as we kept on having like this daisy chain link of ahas and like OMGs. And because I haven't known you that long, so you don't know a lot of my history. We haven't had a gazillion conversations, right? And so it was like it was really helpful in my getting to understand and know myself at a much deeper level with this shroud or blanket of acceptance.
Yeah, brilliant. Amazing. That's amazing. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is that it's a beautiful image that you put in, enlightenment, literally. And I didn't tell you anything you didn't know about yourself. But the fact that somebody else can come in and tell you those things about yourself without knowing you at all, that's illuminating, because you really then you go, well, okay, so that is me. I mean, how do you know me like that?
And I thought, and there's certain things that you just kind of feel are secret, right? And it's like, like one of the things that you revealed about me, I would never tell anybody this. And obviously now everyone on YouTube is going to know this, but I could be under an incredible amount of stress. I could be like in the most fierce trouble, and I'm cool as a cucumber. I'm like, I don't go postal. I don't lose it. I get very quiet and I get very focused, very centered. And no one could ever tell that I'm like dying or drowning, or because I just have this, the way I'm wired, the way I am. This is just how I present. And so made it very, very clear that I have to ask for help, because it's impossible for people to know that, other than, someone who's like, of course, I would not be able to fool you. I would not be able to fool my best friend, because she's very intuitive too. She was like you said, yeah, your best friend would pick up the phone and it's like, you're like, hi. They're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? Because but the rest of the world, they would never have a clue. And it's so true. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like my secret's out.
Sorry. But
it is what it is. But I think there's quite a few other people. I'm not out of 7 billion people on the planet. Listen, I'm sure there's plenty of other people who are like, men and women alike, who are going, oh my gosh, that is me. And it's like, wow, I wonder if she'll be able to pick it up. Oh, trust me, she's going to be able to pick up that and so much more. But in a good way. I got to tell you, there's no judgment, there's no criticism, there's no blame. It's this open space of unconditional love, unconditional truth, unconditional communication, where she is here to bring out the best in you so that you can accept yourself as whole and complete and move in the light of that information more empowered than you were before you started.
Yeah, totally.
So
it is true.
So what is the number one thing that you want people to know about brain profiling and how it benefits them?
Well, I think we've touched on some of it because that self-acceptance is so important because people are pitted against each other. You know, parents are trying to get their children to be something, a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant. And if you're not playing to your strengths, then you keep failing. And you think there must be something wrong that you can't do this thing that you seem to want to or have to do. And when you get to understand that that's not who you are,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I cannot tell you how many people I've sat opposite who the look of relief on their face when we get to understand who you are and to play to your strengths. Honestly, there isn't anything more powerful than that. I'll give you a quick story. I was in South Africa profiling in a company, and I got to speak to the finance manager. And I looked at his profile and I just smiled and I said, "How did you get this job?" And he said, "Oh, don't ask." And, you know, it was a complicated answer. And I said, "Oh, because there isn't any financial manager in this profile, but you would have made an amazing teacher." And he said, "Oh, I've longed to be a teacher all my life. Please, can you phone my wife and tell her?" And I said, "No, I can't." But um, but I could see that this was something that he could have really, really done well at. And 3 weeks later, when I arrived back at the company to do the teamwork with everybody, he had gone. He had resigned, and he'd gotten himself a job as a teacher in Australia, and off he had disappeared to. It was quite incredible. But honestly, that's one of hundreds of people I can tell you about when there was a rheumatologist who came to see me and she just said to me, "I hate my job. I hate lying to people and telling them that the medication is going to help them when I know it isn't." And I said, "Oh, and I can see you really struggle to get here." And she said it was horrific. And I said, "Well, come on, let's find another part of medicine that you'll do better in." And so she went and she discovered she could do mind-body medicine. And she phoned me and said, "This is heaven. I'm so happy. I'm making a difference. I'm doing what I want to do." So, I mean, I'm talking about adults here, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not only for adults. Obviously, it's not only for adults because we want our children to thrive too.
Exactly.
But that's the big thing for me is for you to thrive, then I'm a happy person. Then I'm really happy.
For you to thrive, and then she's a happy person, and then you'll be a happy person too. So I wanted to touch upon that because a lot of people think, we live in a society that there's a ton of boxes, there's all these labels, and they create limiting belief systems, they create limiting paradigms and ways of thinking. And so, for example, like that gentleman, and somebody watching this right now might be thinking, "Oh, I would love to teach, but I'm not really interested in teaching, you know, elementary school, junior high, or high school, or heaven knows, I don't want to be a professor." I go, listen, if you have the personality, brain profile that says that you would be a great teacher, trainer, you could teach and train anything. You could learn to become a brain profiler and teach someone else. You would be a fantastic, educator, trainer, and brain profiling certifier. You don't have to be the clinician. Somebody else will not be good at that, and they'll be better as a practitioner clinician. You can teach and train anything, whatever it is that you have a passion for. It could be numismatics, it could be crystals, it could really literally be anything under the moon, anything even, in the
Yeah,
planetary
totally.
system. It's just you have to pick the topic and then just become masterful at that topic so then you can teach others about that. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And oddly enough, we now have more choice than we've ever had before. And and funny enough, that actually causes some people a lot more issue because they can't make up a decision as to what they want to do, particularly those who have so many options in their profile. Um,
You gotta pick one.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Pick one. And then I also see people in their 70s and I see they have this incredible profile and they didn't get an opportunity to actually fulfill it. And I kind of get sad when I see that, because they really wouldn't, they could have done anything. And so I kind of feel like there's some lost opportunities there too. But I really do think that if we understand each other, and it's not just where your strengths and weaknesses are, that's not enough. If you're left or right brain hemisphere, that's not enough. Please don't go onto YouTube and try and figure this out for yourself. That's not enough. Yeah, there's more to you than just a left and right hemisphere. It's what happens to you when you're stressed. That's the key. And I'll tell you a funny story. When I was quite a bit younger, my son was very little. He was in his car seat behind me, and I'm driving along, and I turn. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I turned just to have a word to him. And at that moment, an accident sort of transpires in front of me, and I don't see it happening. But I do turn back in time to find a man sort of flying off his motorcycle in front of my car. And I stop the car and I jump out and I go to stand next to him. But I'm silent as silent. I'm just standing there over him. And another woman, 2 seconds later, jumps out of her car. She's in front of me now. And she's on the phone immediately to the ambulance. And I look at her and I go, I knew to do that. Why didn't I do that? And it's because under stress, I don't speak. I act. So I was there, but I don't speak. And I looked and I thought, gosh, you see, there she is. Her profile speaks under stress and mine doesn't. And it was so clear once my heart, stopped racing and I was able to help. And I got back, I was back into communicating once my profile had switched off and my heart rate had gone down. But I could just, in that moment, I saw our profiles, and mine was, I take action, so I'm there. But, I couldn't say a word. So that's really the key. The key is, how do you behave under stress? That's so important.
So important. It is. And it's like the fingers of a hand. I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to give up any finger of the hand. If someone says it's like, okay, well, we need to chop off one, I'm like, I don't think so. I need them all. They're all valuable. I need them to play the piano, to play the flute, to type, to everything it is I do. Could I survive without a finger? Well, of course I could. I prefer not to, though. I want to keep them all. But each finger has a different function in the hand, and we need all of them to get a firm grasp of things. And there are some people under stress, they can't move. They might be able to talk, but they definitely can't put their hands on another human being in the state of emergency. So we need that person who is going to go, I'm frozen here. I can't do anything physically, but I can pick up the phone and I can talk and I can report. And then the person who is like you, it's like, no, I can actually move and I can start to make whatever adjustments. May not be able to talk. And then there's, in my case, it's like, and I was trained in emergency medicine. So for my first thing is I block everything out. It's like, I don't have to think about it. It's just all of a sudden laser focus, and I'm already diagnosing as the thing is happening, right? And then my words are very short. I'm not meaning to be mean. I'm like, bottom line, you here, him here, pick up, don't touch. It's all very short, very direct, very nothing confusing, very bottom line, because I'm like laser-like focused, because it's all about this person. It's not about me, or I'm not really worried about your feelings. I'm worried about making sure that this person doesn't die on us, right?
That's right. Exactly.
It's like very boom, boom. And some people might think it's like, why she's barking off orders. I'm like, well, first of all, I have to be heard, because usually there are people that are screaming, right? And it's like, you. And so you just have to get that done. And then, so we need the different types, because no one can do it all by themselves. It's impossible. It's showing us how we do need to be in community, work in concert, and appreciate what every single person contributes.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Wow. And that's why we're all important. We're all valuable. Doesn't matter how we do things. We're doing them differently. It's true. But we're all valuable.
We're all
and so that for me is so, so important. And the other thing that comes into my mind while you're talking is that when I work with mums, particularly, I usually end up working with mums to help them understand their children. One of the things that comes up for me that is so important is knowing how to discipline your children. And you don't know that until you know what brain profile they are. You know, you'll do a trial and error, and the one mum turned to her husband the other day and said, yeah, we did that and that worked, but we didn't know why it worked. Now you know why it works. I was on the phone to one of the other mums while I was doing her profile. Her son started to act out, but I had just told her how to discipline him. And she immediately went and used what I had given her, which is really, marks for her. And she absolutely got it right. And this little kid quietened down instantly and carried on playing. She came back and went, wow, that was amazing. I have been trying for so long to get him to do this, and that was instant. And so, and also the way we discipline is about our profiles. So I discipline differently to you, And if you are a child with the opposite profile to me, you're going to look at me and go, oh, you're not for real, because you're not doing things the way I would do them. So I personally am right-brained, but my son is left-brain dominant. And I could see that if I didn't fix what I was doing, I was going to lose his trust.
Of course.
But I kept letting him down. And so then I quickly did his profile and figured out what was going on. And I went, okay, I got it. For you, I'm doing it this way. And I changed the way I communicated, and that helped enormously.
Yeah. So I think a lot of parents unknowingly, they're disciplining and damaging their child while they're disciplining, just because they're not catering to their particular child's brain profile. And I think that's when you word language it that way and people become aware that, wait a minute, I'm disciplining my child, I'm not really getting them to respond. There's a rub here that's not working, but I don't know any other way to do this. It's like, yeah, you would benefit from the profiling, because then you're going to learn what I call your child's currency. And it doesn't matter if it's your child, it could be your employee. Just yesterday, I was talking to one of my directors, Lisa Pettit, about you. And I was telling her also how it relates, because one of the tools that you and I use in our clinical practice are, the stem cell activation patches, which, of course, if the FDA is watching here, they're not stem cell activation patches, they're cell activation patches. Just delete. We're not allowed to say that anymore. So I'm going to self-correct myself here in real time. But I was telling her, it's like, everybody has a different currency, and children are the same. And just all people are like that. Some people are motivated through, the altruistic, like saving of lives. Other people are very motivated by the financial, remuneration, the compensation that you're going to receive from saving lives. Other people are like, oh, the incredible trips that you can win. Other people, it's the acknowledgement of that I was able to save somebody's life, help give a person relief, change the course of their life from going infinitely worse to now turning the other cheek and getting infinitely better. Other people are, believe it or not, there are people that are like winning the free sleeves of the patches. For them, they're like, it's like a game. They're like, this week I won this week I won that. I have one lady, I found out her currency is getting the little like, what do you call them, like cartoon emojis that are not just like the plain emojis, but the emojis that bubble up and burst out and file, and just that keeps her engaged wearing her patches. Before that, she had the patch, she had bought like over $3,000 of patches. She bought a year's worth and couldn't get her to get started. I'm like, you already spent the money. I go, the reason why I'm following up with you is like, not to sell you anything else. You already have a year's worth of patches. I don't care about you buying the patches. I care about you wearing the patches. You need to wear them so you get the benefit. You got to wear them. Do whatever you want. I don't want to force you to do anything you don't want to do, but you tell me that you do want to wear the patches and you want the benefit. So you have to remember to put the patches on, and you need to drink the water. Well, guess what? As soon as I started consistently sending her, like she says, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start. And then I sent her all the blow up emojis. She came alive. And then the next day she confirms to me that she put the patches on. And I told her, remember, you have to drink, at least 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. And then she says, she said, then I sent her like a little blow up emoji. And then she said, she goes, I just drank my first bottle. I will make sure that no matter what, I drink the next 4 bottles of water. And then when I sent her the emojis, like I sent her like 3 or 4 of them in the row, all different. She was like, wow, oh my gosh, there you go again. I love it. For her, that's her currency. And I'm like, I could do this. How fun. I'm bringing her joy. She's like in awe. She's like, and she's moving forward.
Wow. Yay.
Everybody has a different currency. And when I think
Yes.
it's just so revealing to have that brain profile done. So I want to close this. We're getting up here to the top of the hour. I want people to get in touch with you. I know that you're on Facebook, you're on TikTok. What's the best place for people to reach out to you? Because I know that you are available in 82 countries. We have the patches that are available that you use as a tool in 82 countries. We're just a Zoom call away, just like this. You're in New Zealand. I'm here in California. Where would you like, what's the best place for them to reach out to you?
I think the website is the easiest. It's brainfocus.nz. That is the easiest place to get hold of me.
So brain focus
Focus.nz.
dot
NZ.
in
For New Zealand. I can't see that. Yeah, brainfocus.nz.
brain focus NZ and Z.
No. Dot dot
N.
N for New Zealand.
I see what
Z.
you're saying. So I will do it again and I will hold it up, but we will put it in the show description.
Okay.
Brain
Focus.
dot. I
NZ.
also remember now. Like this.
That's it.
Yes.
Yay. Brainfocus.nz.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go, you guys. This is highly technical, not really. It's just with a Sharpie, but I will put it in the description of this particular broadcast. I will also pin it to the first comment so that you can reach out to Noeline along with her Facebook profile so that you can connect to her. You can follow or send her a friend request, mention this show, and then also on TikTok and any other platform that you give me to share with them, and they can reach out to you through brainfocus.nz. All right, my friends and gems. Closing remarks?
Let's get this out there. Let's get every child able to thrive. It's my absolute passion. I really want children to grow up happy, enjoy their lives, enjoy school, enjoy learning, feel good about themselves, feel happy in themselves. Really, that is my main goal in life. So if we can do that, that would really make us happy.
Fantastic. Noeline, thank you so much, my friend. I'm so glad that we were able to spend this hour talking about brain profiling, doing this introduction. I would love to do a series with you where we do at least 1 or 2 of these a month, and we just continue to share the stories of transformation from people like you, with families like yours who have experienced this brain profiling, who've also experienced the activation of their cells through this life-saving technology of the mother and daughter cell activation patches that are available throughout the world. And so thank you for having the courage to follow your passion, to step in the light of your truth, and to unabashedly share this with the world and make this a better place.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. All right, my friend and gems. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in, turning on to Love and Money Secrets TV. I want to highly encourage you to check this broadcast out and make sure you like this. Make sure you share this with a friend or a gem of yours that might benefit from this incredible information and this life-saving technology. Hit that notification bell so that every time we upload a new video, you'll learn about these stories of transformation and this very unique type of skill sets that we have experts like Noeline who come into my experience that I automatically want to share with you because it would be a crime not to share it with you. Okay? Ciao for now.
Right.